Well, look, I'm having to take a deep breath because I think the start of your contribution was really out of order. I think it was fundamentally out of order because I don't ever think there's a justification for the hatred that some members of this House have experienced, for the intimidation and attacks that they've experienced online, offline, at their homes, towards their families. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And I would defend the right of any member of this House, any of them, to not ever have to encounter that. And I don't want to ever hear in this House, though it's your right to say whatever you want in this House, I don't ever want to hear some attempt to justify the hate, the bile, the toxicity, and you should call it out. And I hope when you next stand to your feet, you'll condemn it, because I know you to be a decent person. I don't think you meant that, but that's how that feeds that anger online. That's exactly what it feeds. It's calling us gormless, coming in here gormlessly calling it out. I hope you've never had to encounter what some of us have. I hope you never ever have to. This is a government that proudly supports Waterford, and I'm looking forward to taking that case to the next people. Looking forward to winning our seat back in Waterford too, because we're a government that is investing substantially in the South East, substantially in Waterford City, substantially in the county. There's a €30 million flood protection scheme that's been put in place to protect businesses and residents along the city's quays. New state-of-the-art fire station following an investment of €10 million. There's been investment, €30 million expansion for the courthouse. The old disused railway line between the picturesque town of Dungarvan, beautiful place, and Waterford City, now a first-class greenway, following investment of a further €25 million. There's been €37 million allocated in URDF and active travel funding for the city centre regeneration. There's been €170 million committed by the government for the North Quays, enabling infrastructure. We have delivered a university for the South East, which we continue to engage on to make sure it reaches its full potential, and Minister O'Donovan will make progress in relation to both advancing the Waterford Crystal site, the delivery of student accommodation, and PP Bundle 2 as well. We have, as Minister Butler has outlined in this House, on a number of occasions provided significant additional funding in terms of supporting the 24/7 and the move towards 24/7 cardiac services in Waterford Hospital as well. There's an awful lot of good stuff happening in Waterford, an awful lot of good stuff happening, and I know that when I go to Waterford, and indeed I was only there a couple of weeks ago, and I'll be looking forward to being back there again. I'm proud of the government's commitment, and you'll see in the draft national planning framework that will be published in the coming days that we want to go out and engage with communities and local authorities right across the country. You'll see an ongoing level of commitment to the regions in terms of balanced regional development as well. So please don't misrepresent our commitment in relation to Waterford. Yes, sometimes projects take time, and you and I debate where they're at, but I can tell you we're going to deliver in relation to cardiac care. We're going to deliver in relation to the university, and we're going to continue to deliver in relation to Waterford City and County.
Taoiseach, I offered you comments that I hear all the time, and instead of addressing them, you offered a deflection, saying that I'm trying to talk about hate speech. Not about that. I'm reflecting to you what people around my constituency, around the regions, are describing, Taoiseach. And Taoiseach, whether you wish to, you can reach back into your notes there and discuss projects from 2 and 3 programmes of government ago, which you did, the courthouse and the fire station that you mentioned in Waterford, and the Greenway. They are all previous to this government. I have asked you about €44 billion of capital expenditure in this programme for government, and where is the relative percentage for Waterford and the South East? I have met you umpteen times about SETU. Do you know what your total amount of capital investment in the college is at the moment, in terms of built infrastructure? It's the acquisition of land, of 20 acres of land. There is no public development going on the college campus at the moment. It is all private development, despite all the promises that we have. I've asked you about the runway extension to Waterford Airport, which has been caught up in a needless review for the past, at this stage, almost a year, Taoiseach. This discussion is happening. And at the same time, we look at the money that's going. So you may not take my word for it. I encourage you, do come to Waterford, and absolutely do come back and win your seat. And you'll only win it if you deliver. And I would extort you now, deliver in these next 6 months that's left in your government, and win your seat back if you wish.
Political advice. I don't need any notes to debate you in relation to these matters, and I think it's highly regrettable that when I asked you, would you withdraw comments in relation to politicians coming in here gormlessly expressing views around hate and toxicity in Irish politics. We should all call it out. If it happened to you, I'd call it out. If it happened to anybody over here, I'd call it out. Most people would call it out if it happened to anybody in this House. But you seem to be kind of trying to justify it, give it now a nod and a wink. Give it a nod and a wink. You refused to stand up. You refused to stand up and condemn hatred. Instead, you stood up and said you had a rationale and a
Deputy, please resume your seat. Deputy, please resume your seat.
Well then,
through the chair, Taoiseach.
well, I asked you very
Thank you.
simple. I asked you
Through the
just simply, when you stood back up, would you consider reflecting on what you said in your opening contribution? You chose not to, because you tried to.
Thank you, Deputy.
The people of Waterford will adjudicate you in due course.
Garmagat.